lay off staff, right? That's what they're having to do with the current climate, and what's happening is letting go of staff and making cuts in places that becomes very difficult. So you want to make sure that you are able to grow your capacity, your ability to do the work without having to hire more staff, because you might not be in that position where you have the funding to hire more staff. So definitely let me know if you want to hear more about the course, and we can get moving and make sure that we are going in the right direction, especially 2026 coming, because I don't know if you guys realize we have 3 more years of this stuff. So we have to get ready and we have to have the tools necessary, because by all means necessary is what I say. So let's get to work and let's start talking about what increasing your capacity using systems, structure, and tools look like, not additional stuff. So, one way to do that by increasing systems is you have to be able to look at your current structure and be able to determine whether or not what your capacity is. You have to be able to audit your capacity and look at the where the company or organization currently is, so you can make decisions that align with what's needed. So let's say that you need someone to help with marketing. It's the best thing to hire a marketing coordinator or a marketing director right now. It probably might not be in the budget. So, what is it that you need with marketing that needs to be done? This needs to be evaluated, and you need to look at the capacity of your company to do that work. And if you don't, what are ways that you can do the work without having to hire staff? So that's where in the Nonprofit Navigator course, the new edition, there is a module that has a lesson that talks about creating capacity without hiring, where we break down the different systems and the different structures, the different tools that you can utilize within your organization or company to ensure that you are doing this work. So again, just because things are not going the way you want them to does not mean you should not be able to build your capacity and increase the output and outcome of the work that you're putting in. So definitely look at um, check my link, and definitely reach out if you want to talk about how to participate in this course. It's going to be a self-paced course that's lifetime access, but the only thing that's limited is your access to me and the support, the live group access and the live Q&As, where I answer questions and give you solutions in real time. So that is only a 6 months access. So if you want more questions about that, definitely let me know. But ooh, the other thing that some people don't understand, or I know I've met some folks that don't understand what capacity is. So I'm gonna just define it shortly for a few people that are new to my page, because I talk about capacity a lot. The capacity of an organization or a company is how well it can do what it says it can do, right? And the tools that you have at your disposal, that includes people, that includes systems and things like that. So that is what your capacity is. If your organization does not have the capacity to do something, then it becomes difficult. So I'm gonna leave it there for you to start thinking about, and really, we're going to break down a few more things today, because I'm going to go at my own pace. So if you have any questions, drop them in the live, because then this is not a rush live, but that's what I want to talk about. Let me make sure. Let's see how can I put a comment? Okay, I'm going to put the comment of what we're talking about today and things you can ask in the chat and TikTok. On Facebook, you already know what we're talking about. All right. So, hi everyone. Hi everyone on TikTok. If you're here, drop some likes and drop a comment. Let this algorithm do what it's doing. But again, what we're talking about is increasing capacity using system structure and tools, not additional staff. So that's what we're going to talk about. And Again, if you are here live, hashtag live. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. I didn't introduce myself yet on purpose. I wanted to give some time for this to go and people to know what we're talking about. So essentially, my name is Stacy, and I am a consultant and coach for mostly nonprofits, but also small businesses that are making less than $10 million in annual revenue. And the way I help them is by helping them with their operations, streamlining their operations and systems to support growth, to support making more revenue, right? And in terms of nonprofits, one thing I will say is that most nonprofits think capacity issues is because they need more staff. And that's what we're talking about today, about how that's just a fallacy, and how more staff does not necessarily mean you're going to have a better capacity, because if you don't have the structure to support that staff, then it goes downhill from here. So the real capacity problem usually is not people, it's the lack of structure that supports the people that you already have. And that's what I want to bring to light today in this conversation. So again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I really want to support you, your organization, and your company to ensure that you are building in the way that you need to build. So, hiring without systems usually is a big issue, because that's how you create burnout. That's how you create confusion amongst your staff. And that's why a lot of organizations have a turnover problem. So, again, it's in your best interest to pay attention to these things, okay? Because then I'm not going to tell you that come about my ways just so you can hire me, but there's a reason you're always back to square one if you do not have the capital to do the work, or you feel like you're doing everything yourself, okay? So we're going to talk about the difference between adding help and actually fixing the foundation, right? I already defined capacity for whomever at the beginning, but again, a short version of this is basically your organization's ability to execute consistently with or without you in the room. Okay, so that may be another way to define it for you to understand what capacity means, right? And capacity of an organization can include systems, roles, right? Tools that make it easier if you have the capacity for that. It's not necessarily humans or the ability to implement a program. It can be all these things: systems, the roles, the tools, the visibility, that, the follow through and all of that. So if your organization tends to fall apart when one person is missing, that means that you also have a systems gap, and you don't have the capacity for certain work because of that gap of systems. And that's the work I do, and that's the work I enjoy doing. So definitely we're gonna hopefully, if you follow me, go ahead and follow me so you can learn more about systems and operations, because that's the thing I geek out on. If you've ever been a manager or manage people, you realize quickly that it's not what it is like cut out to be. And I realized because of that I enjoy the operations and systems work. So that's why I'm here, for those who don't know the backstory. Um, so one thing that the biggest myth a lot of companies or organizations usually have is usually, oh, we need one more person to do this work. But when you actually walk through what actually happens when an organization hires without structure, the new hire, what happens with this person is that they're just another person to manage. They're just another human being to make sure you keep accountable and you're providing guidance to. So does it necessarily mean that you hired someone to do the job? Because if you don't have the capacity to train this person to do the job right, you're basically hiring someone, an extra person or an extra function for you. Okay. And some people don't look at it. If you don't have the capacity to train this person right, or the structure to make sure the person has the tools to do their job right, you're adding work for yourself. Okay. And the other thing that happens without structure is that you start having tasks that get duplicated because this person was hired to do it. They don't know how to do it, so you have to do it, right? Or the deadline's missed entirely because they don't know what they're doing because you didn't have the capacity to train them right. Training is inconsistent. So all of these things are things that come into play when there's no structure to hire a new person. So like when all of this happened, this person ends up leaving in 6 to 12 months, sometimes less. I've had people leave within 3 months, right? Because they felt lost, or they knew like somewhere else was going to make them feel more kind of structured, because people tend to forget, just like children. love discipline and structure. If you're in the workplace, your employees like it too. Okay. So, having the right systems in place and your operations being down pat is in the company or organization's best interest. Okay. And usually when these things fall apart, that's because there's a lack of processes. There's a lack of clarity around the workflows of what's happening in the organization. So when I say you can increase your capacity using system, structure, and tools, not hiring more staff, I mean it because like I gave an example of marketing before, instead of hiring a marketing director, what are tools that you can use to you can utilize to ensure that you know exactly what to do in the marketing space for your company or organization, and how can you implement these strategies for marketing, either using automation or things like that. So you have to figure out how you can make systems and tools work for you if you're not in a place to hire more staff, because you don't always need more staff to do the work. You just need a consistent way and systematize it. So now you're doing the work smarter, and eventually you'll be able to grow to hire somebody else to do it. Because if you're not in that position and you're just like, oh, we can't do the work right now. We only have one person doing the work. Okay, what can that one person do? Strategically, what is needed to grow the company or organization that that one person can do with the support of systems and automation so they're not doing everything themselves? These are questions I need you to start asking yourself. Because if you don't have these things aligned and these things set up, what it does, it sets up whomever is there on their own for failure. It sets them up to not be able to do what they need to do. So you need to think about all these things. Give me one sec. But in the meantime, drop your questions. Let me know. Hashtag live, hashtag replay if you're watching. Because then if there's a specific scenario that you want me to go over, drop it in the chat, drop it in the comments, because I'll make sure to go over that. So let me know. I see Zekle. Like, hi everyone. Hi Kristen. Hi Lisa. Okay. All right. So if you had any questions and you dropped them in the chat, let me go on Facebook. I haven't checked the comment on Facebook. All right. So if you're on Facebook, hashtag live. If you're on TikTok, hashtag live, let me know. Because again, this algorithm is a serious thing. Like the more you engage, the better. So make it do its thing. And like, share, whatever it is. So these are things, invites you to co-host. No, I do not want to co-host. So these are all things that you need to consider, and there are so many examples for you to consider in this situation. So I want you to start thinking about how systems can support, structure can support, and tools can support your organization or company and the work that it does, not just hiring more staff. Because a system can tell people what to do, when to do, and how well it needs to be done. So if you don't have the systems in place to kind of guide an individual in the work that they're doing, you're kind of sending them into doing something blind, right? Because then what a system can be, it can be an onboarding workflow, it can be a grant workflow. Okay, what's the process for applying for grants? Because if the person has a structure to follow, a process to follow, a workflow to follow, right, it facilitates the work that they have to do, because now it's just, okay, step one, this is what I have to do. Step two, this is what I have to do. And step three, this is what I have to do. And also it gives them a feedback loop of where they need to check in, the communication process and things like that. Communication process is also a system, right? So if all these things are set up, it supports the work in a way that you do not need an additional staff to do it, because now there's a level of consistency and structure in the way the work is done, and it helps the organization or company move in the right direction. Board reporting is also a system. Fundraising steps, all of these things are examples of systems. A lot of people don't think about it. If you have systems in place, it supports the work that you do in a way that will increase your productivity, right? Increase progress. So it increased growth. So when I decided to focus on operations and systems, there's a reason, because without these things, it's very hard for you to actually grow your company or organization. You need operational success and systematic processes and things like that to support the growth that you're chasing. Okay, and structure is basically how information and responsibilities and decisions move through your organization. So, what is the structure of the organization? Who owns what? Like, who's responsible for what? How decisions are made, right? That is an example of structure. Like, how communication flows. These are all examples of structure. How communication flows. These are all examples of structure within a company or organization. So if you do not have a level of structure, it makes it difficult. And tools, it's just that tools basically allow the systems and structure to actually work. Examples of tools will be dashboards that you have either on Airtable or Monday.com. All of these are examples of tools that can support your company or organization. Document storage boards, like if people use, oh my God, there was one, it's not Zillow, oh my God, Trello. Trello is an example of a tool. Airtable, Monday.com. Monday.com is free for the first 10 users for nonprofits, the pro account. So if you're a nonprofit 501c3, go ahead and get your Monday.com account, because that can be a tool that you use to support like project management and tracking and also grant management. So there are so many things you can do with Monday.com if you're a nonprofit. And Airtable is one that I like for me as a for-profit because of I think I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with both Monday.com because I used to be a project director for a nonprofit I co-founded, and Monday.com is it's pretty sweet for a nonprofit, like the work that we do. But Airtable, in terms of my for-profit business, I really enjoy it because it does allow me to utilize um, AI agents in my dashboards to provide a summary for certain things. So these are all things that can be tools and automations like Zapier. There's so many tools out there that can support you in the work that you do, where you just increase your capacity without hiring more staff. So I want you to consider those things and definitely think about what capacity you have right now and what you can do for your company and organization to grow and move to the next step. Because again, I told you, got 3 more years of this thing, right? You have to just work with what you got. And a lot of companies and organizations that I've met are having a hard time because they had to lay off staff. But okay, we already know that's what's happening. It's sad. We all know that. But what can we do to kind of get away from just depending or being victim to what's happening, to actually growing so we can never have to like go through that problem again, and it not being our choice, because we can only control what we can control, and you can control the structure of the infrastructure of your company or organization to ensure it's successful. But if you don't take the right steps, it will not work. It will not happen. Okay. So these are all things I want you to consider. And when you do that, what happens is that people are not overwhelmed like they used to be, right? There's like people are more clear in what their role is and what they're supposed to do. People start like not remember, but yeah, task don't fall through the cracks anymore, because now you have the tools and the systems in place to ensure that people know what they're supposed to be doing. So nothing is being done from memory. Because then I know you know. Some days you're like, what was I supposed to do today again? But you don't know. So these are things I want you to consider and think about. staff retention will improve. So you can increase your capacity without hiring. And even though like you want that to be a temporary thing, you may need it to support where you're going. So when you get to hiring more staff, you're ready. So if that's something you're looking to do, do a quick audit, self-diagnose to see what's falling through the cracks if you have the capacity for certain things. Because then if somebody with a staff of one is telling me they want to support 200 women in the community, how are you going to do that? Okay? Because you're doing the social media, you're taking the pictures, you're picking up the phone. How are you going to go in the community and knock on doors? So you don't have the capacity for that. So I want you to do a quick audit, a self-diagnosis of what's happening within your organization or company and what's actually feasible so you can determine what system, structure, or tools that are needed within so you can move forward in a way that makes sense. Okay? And like I said, the nonprofit navigator is going to launch soon on December 1st. So I want you to join because there are so many modules that support the work that you're doing, and it's going to have it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? You get the tools to create what you need to create, the systems that you need to create, but you also get a consultant to support you and a group setting and also a live Q&A setting so you can actually ask the questions necessary and build as you go so your organization can move forward in the way it needs to. And the modules, I'll go over the different modules that are, and there are some key lessons that I am excited to be launching soon. So there's like one lesson on the operational mission, what your organization or company actually does, because some people will have missions that are full of jargon, right? Full of jargon. Because then you read the mission and you're like, engage, educate, empower. Yes, that's everybody and their mama. They all do that. But what does it mean? So we go over what the organization really does and we focus in operational terms because sometimes it's like people read it and they're like, oh, this is cute. This sounds cute. This sounds fancy, but we don't want your organization to just give a mission that just sounds good to the ear, you know? We want a mission that actually describes what you really do. So that's what we're going in. And there's another lesson where you're going to build your 90-day focus plan. So I included this lesson to ensure that you have a plan of a growth plan for 90 days because sometimes like you're just going through the motions, you're not really strategic about the direction you're trying to go. So the first module, we have a 90-day focus plan on what you need to focus, your outcomes, your weekly actions, checkpoints, so you and everybody in your organization or company can know what matters at the time. And also there's a module because I'm providing anybody who joins this lesson with a custom GPT that's called Starter Copilot and it's going to support a lot of the work that you have to do in your nonprofit. So let's say in your nonprofit, you need to craft a mission and you need support, you need help. This custom GPT is going to help you write your mission statement. And one thing about my chat GPT, a lot of people don't know, my chat GPT knows me, Tracy knows me. And I've trained my chat GPT in this module. I'm going to give you ways to train your chat GPT so it does not sound like chat GPT. Here's the truth. Okay, that's a common thing that it says. And putting out fires, there's so many terms that ChatGPT uses that sound like that doesn't sound like you. I'm going to teach you how to use this custom GPT for your organization or company to ensure that it is providing the information that you need in a way that supports your brand. Okay, so you'll have access to a custom GPT. I'm gifting that to whomever is in that course. And also module 2, that's where we start building the systems, right? I'm gonna have a lesson to teach you how to understand the systems gap within your organization and audit them to see what's missing. And remember, you're gonna have access to the Facebook group where I'm gonna go live once a month, every month, and you're going to be able to have a live Q&A where you ask questions that I can answer live, and you can also submit questions ahead of time that I can answer on the live, so you can watch the replay or even join the live. And with the Facebook group, you can like ask questions anytime and I'll answer those. So you have access to the Facebook group for 6 months where you can just ask and I help you as you go. Because that's the one thing that people don't understand. When you have a course and you don't have support in real time, it's very hard for you to finish that course. But I'll be there and supporting the work that you're doing in real time and helping you map the workflows and creating standard operating procedures. If I ever say SOP, that's what I'm referring to, the standard operating procedures for different processes in your organization. We're gonna build those and create those to ensure that every process within your company or organization has a standard operating procedure. Okay. Even if it's flushing the toilet, whatever it is, we're going to talk about it. Okay, we're going to create a SOP for that. If you have an organization or a company, we're going to create a SOP for all the things that are repeatable within your company or organization. So that's just module 3. There are 6 modules and bonus modules like beyond grants. If you're a nonprofit and you need to know how to generate revenue or how to position your organization like a business and not just a hobby, we're going to talk about that as well, and it's going to be in one of the modules, and I'm going to go live on that month or month 6, and hopefully you have gone through all the modules because the modules are really short. I don't like the videos being more than 10 minutes, and you have enough templates, enough work to do. So I just want to support you through that, and it's self-paced for a reason, okay? Because I know everybody has a schedule that is not similar to mine, and I'm here to support you and meet you where you are. So if you're interested in joining the Nonprofit Navigator in Cohort 2 that I'm launching on December 1st, I want you to send me a DM with the word Navigator, and I'll make sure to send you that link as soon as it drops, because this course is going to be a game changer and it's set up to support you in the current environment that we're in. Because listen, we are where we are. And these things, whether you like it or not, are going to help you be ready for grant applications. We're going to talk about grant applications as well. If I have to do a grant writing training for the cohort members as we go, or multiple, all we need to do is take a vote and let me know, and I'll do a grant writing training specifically for the cohort members, because this cohort will be just that. It will be your environment where you tell me what you need beyond the modules and I help you build. Okay. So again, if you're interested in joining the next cohort of the Nonprofit Navigator, I want you to send me a DM with the word Navigator, and I will make sure to stay in touch with you and send you the link once I launch that. The price for the 6 months of not only live support, Facebook support, and the lifetime access to the course is $597, and there will be payment plans. There will be payment plans available if you need it, because I understand nonprofits, you work with a budget. So if you need a payment plan to break that up, that is available for your nonprofit or your company as well. But again, DM me the word nonprofit and then we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like, and I'll send you more information if needed. But that's it on my end, and I look forward to speaking to you and helping you grow. So let me know if you have any other questions. Bye, y'all.